A continuación vamos a tener un perfil muy curioso, estratega de comunicación que ha tenido un papel fundamental de cara a la estrategia de comunicación que ha seguido lo que es ahora la actual administración de Estados Unidos. Ha sido el estratega tras Donald Trump en esta campaña electoral, en la campaña electoral de 2024, y desde luego va a tener un perfil muy interesante de cara a analizar las estrategias de comunicación políticas, cómo están avanzando y sobre todo cuál ha sido el enfoque que se ha llevado a cabo de cara a esta campaña, la de 2024 de Donald Trump. Ya sabemos que Donald Trump es una persona bastante impulsiva, le preguntaremos por ello pues a la hora, por ejemplo, de publicar en Truth Social. Así que vamos a ver hasta qué punto, por ejemplo, también esto forma parte o no de esa estrategia de comunicación, ¿no? Esa construcción del personaje político, o hasta qué punto vemos que se equilibra personaje con persona, ¿no? Si esto nos da algún tipo de proximidad o no, o cómo se maneja de cara a la construcción de lo que es la figura política. Así que, por favor, os voy a pedir un fuerte aplauso al asesor de comunicación de Donald Trump, Alex Bruesewitz. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is a man's world.
Alex, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your time. We really appreciate you being here. If I may, before we begin, I'll briefly introduce you in Spanish, so the audience have a bit of context of you. Como os decía, Alex Bruesewitz es estratega político, es cofundador de Strategies, es una firma de consultoría que ha ganado visibilidad por su papel en la comunicación digital, como decíamos, en la actual administración estadounidense. Mientras hablemos en inglés, vais a tener en todo momento subtítulos, ¿vale? Tenemos un estenotipista, creo que lo he dicho bien, mecanografiando a gran velocidad para que podáis también seguir la conversación traducida al español. We'll have subtitles as we talk. You will notice we have reverb here on a stage, so I'll do my best to speak clearly, loudly, and well, to be fluent in this conversation. Alex, let's begin with your first steps. What first drew you to political strategy? Which experiences shaped your decision to co-found Strategies, and at such a young age?
Well, thank you for having me. And before I begin, I just want to share my thoughts and prayers with the right-wing leader in Colombia, Miguel Uribe, who was tragically shot. It's terrible what happened. Terrible what happened. I'm starting to see a pattern. If you're a right-wing leader, you get shot. It's a bad situation, and the modern-day left, not just in America, but all over the world, it's the greatest threat that the world has, quite frankly, ever seen. So be alert, and we pray that Miguel recovers very quickly. But to answer your question, I got drawn into politics at a young age because I like to talk crap on social media when I was in high school. And so when I was 17 years old, I posted a picture of one of President Trump's hotels in Chicago, and I said that the sign on Trump Chicago would look just as good on the White House. And shortly thereafter, the president shared that post, and I became the biggest fanboy of President Trump. And so for the next 10 years of my life, I dedicated most of my energy and most of my time to building up a social media following, talking about conservative politics, mainly defending the president and his policies. And I also built a business that helped conservatives communicate better online. We worked with some of the most well-known Republicans in our party today, took them from 0 social media followers to many millions. And I had the great luxury of helping the president in his most recent campaign.
So they became influencers.
Right. We helped, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing yet. Soon we'll find out.
Depends on who you ask.
But you have some influencers here in Spain too, by the way. Santiago Abascal, I think he's fantastic.
That's how starts your working relationship with Donald Trump. How has it developed over time?
Well, when I started my business, I was very young. And so it took many years to get the respect of the president and his family. About 4.5 years ago, I began working with the president's oldest son, Donald Trump Jr. And Donald Trump Jr. opened up many doors and opportunities for me, and then I started working with other family members, and then ultimately worked with the president, started working with the president a few years ago. But my relationship with him has developed from me being a fan of his to me being a friend of his, and that's an honor of my lifetime.
I need to ask you this, sorry. Do you think Donald Trump Jr. could be the next MAGA 2028?
I think he'd be upset with me if I answered that truthfully, so I'll just say that he's got a lot of talent.
Okay, thank you. From your perspective as a strategist, which are the biggest differences between Trump's 2016 campaign and the 2024 in terms of tone, tactics, and technology?
I think it's important to note that in 2016, Donald Trump had 0 political experience. And for the first time in our country's short history, a businessman became the president. Every president before him was either a politician or a general, so they had some statesman experience. Trump was the only exception. He came in, he was only in Washington, D.C. 17 times in his 70 years on Earth, so he was unfamiliar with the process, but he knew what was happening in our country was wrong, and he believed that his message and his vision would turn it around. And it did for 4 years. But those 4 years were tough. They were challenging. We had a lot of people that were fighting us within, people that we thought were on our team. I call them rhinos, but we got rid of them during this last 4-year period. And now we have a lot of great allies in the cabinet and in working for the president. We know who we can trust. And when you don't have to worry about somebody stabbing you in the back, you can focus on other things like making America great again. And that's what President Trump is doing this time around.
So he connect with this businessman profile who became a politician. He connect with people, with the humble citizen, because he shows an image of a businessman who made himself.
Right.
That's the reason why.
Right. The president would much rather be on a construction site, working with the construction workers, than spending time in Washington, D.C. with a bunch of politicians who have never worked with their hands. You know, if you see a lot of the politicians in Washington, they're quite weak. So the president is the champion for the common man because he is the common man, except for he's got many billions of dollars in his bank account. But he loves the people of our country. He spends time with the people of our country. A lot of people in Washington, in the political profession, they get to Washington and they stay there and they spend time amongst themselves, and there becomes a cabal, it becomes a system, and the system protects itself. President Trump came in and he said, I'm going to break that system. So the system doesn't like him very much. That's why they arrest him, that's why they impeach him, and that's why, quite frankly, they shot at him twice. But he's still standing stronger than ever before, and America and the world are greater than ever before because of it.
Could you share specific examples of how your team has influenced communication decisions within Trump's campaign, both during the election and now that he's back in the White House?
Well, I had the unique privilege of helping guide the president's, they call it the podcast strategy, where we put the president on a lot of the most popular internet shows in America. And by the way, Victor Dominguez, who's the organizer of this event, has a great podcast, so check it out. But we got to work with all of the fun podcasters and the president's youngest son, Barron, who's very tall. He's about 6'9". Would be a great basketball player if he moved to España, by the way. But he was involved, and the president of UFC, Dana White. Do we have any UFC fans in here? So I had the unique privilege of working with the president's family and his incredible friends to usher in this podcast strategy, and the president did an incredible. And now I work with the president from the outside. I'm not in the White House, but I occasionally bring celebrities to visit the president. And I took Conor McGregor there a few weeks ago, and we love Conor McGregor.
Steve Bannon talked about the flood the zone strategy. I'm interested in it because you said that Donald Trump goes to podcasts, interviews. Every day we have messages from him, from Truth Social, or from interviews, or in speaking with someone. No? Here we have this sensation, no, of flooding the zone. Which is the strategy behind this?
Well, not to be mean, but we've learned over the years that the Democrats in our country are just not very smart. So they have a hard time keeping up. So the flooding the zone strategy is when you are doing multiple things at once and doing it at a high level, because we have very capable people on our team that can run with the project, and we don't have to be involved with everything. And so the Democrats are running around with like chickens with their heads cut off, have no idea what issue to be outraged about. You know, the Democrats, they care about protecting, the Democrats in our country want boys and girls sports. They want to transition your children at the age of 5 years old. They want an open border that allows terrorists and drug cartels and terrible people to pour into our country. And so we're solving all of these problems, and the Democrats are like, wait, you're solving too many problems too quickly, we don't know what to be upset about today, and so they just yell about everything.
For media, it's overwhelming too.
Yeah, the media, that's the worst. We have some of the worst people in the world in our media.
Don't say me that.
We need you. We need her in our media. She's good.
What challenges have you faced during Donald Trump's campaign in trying to reframe Trump's image for new digital audiences?
Right. I mean, for 8 years, our country and the world only saw the President Trump that the fake news media wanted to show. They always portrayed him as an angry person. They always thought he was yelling. And as I went from being a fan of his to being his friend, I was able to see firsthand how the depiction of President Trump by the media couldn't be further from the truth. The president is the kindest and the most gracious person that I've ever met. He's very caring about the people that work for him. He's very caring about the people who vote for him. And so the podcast strategy actually gave us a unique way to showcase the president in a different tone. And there was not switching who Trump was. You know, Trump is that way that you saw in the podcast when he's having dinner with you. But when he sits down with a fake news reporter and they're like, sir, why are you a racist? And why are you this? Why? So it's automatically hostile and the president's going to fight back. But the podcasts, they asked tough questions, but they weren't hostile. And so the president's real personality was able to come out in that. And a lot of Americans saw that side of him for the first time. And they're like, wait a second. Everything that the media told me about him was a lie. I like this guy. He cares about our country, and I'm going to vote for him.
You say about humanizing him. How do you respond to criticism suggesting that humanizing political figures can sometimes be seen as emotional manipulation?
Well, I think what's even worse emotional manipulation is dehumanizing political figures, taking the humanity away, and that's what the media did for 8 years. They wanted you to think of President Trump not as a person, but as a symbol. They attacked him viciously and personally. They made him out to be this monster that he's not. And we didn't humanize him, we just showed who he was as a human. I think there's a big difference. We didn't change President Trump. President Trump didn't change himself. He's been the same for his entire life, especially his entire public life. You can look at the issues that he's been talking about for the last 40 years. He never switched up. And he used to be friends with the people in the media, by the way, and he used to be friends with the celebrity class. And then the second he says he's running for president as a Republican, the system turns against him. And so I think dehumanizing is dangerous because the Democrats dehumanizing President Trump is what led to 2 assassination attempts on my friend's life. And so I don't want to talk about, is humanizing wrong? Dehumanizing is wrong.
It's because sometimes some politicians build a character and they don't show the real person behind. There's something that it's our perspective, I think a global perspective, and maybe you share that, or the Donald Trump himself. He's impulsive, really impulsive. That's something that could be positive or negative, depends on the perspective. Is Trump's impulsiveness when posting, for example, on Truth Social, communication strategy, for example, to let this person behind the politician to be real?
Yeah, I think the president, I think the fact that I don't think he's impulsive, by the way. He thinks out everything that he does, and he doesn't just react. He's really thoughtful, and sometimes his tweets are a little aggressive, yeah. But he's very intentional behind each word that he says. He's intentional behind which characters in the words he capitalizes. He's very intentional about it. So I don't think impulsive is the right way to describe him. But I think it's refreshing to have a politician who says what's on their mind and who doesn't hold back. A lot of politicians in our country and all throughout Europe, they tiptoe. They say one thing in private and another thing in public because they're scared. The president has no fear. He says what he's thinking, and he brings the people along with him. One of my favorite statistics about the president is when he first announced that he was running for president in 2016, he met with pollsters, and the people who run the polls said, "Sir, don't talk about immigration. People don't care about immigration. It's the number 17 issue." And the president listened, okay, thank you very much. He goes down the Golden Escalator and he just talks about how we're being invaded at our southern border. And he took the number 17 issue in 2016 and he made it the number 1 issue in 2024, and that's why we're in office today.
How do you view the relationship between political branding and voter trust in the age of digital media?
I think authenticity is key, which we hit on earlier. You have to be authentic. You have people like, do you guys know who Tim Walz is by chance? Who Kamala Harris chose to be her vice president? Do you know Tim? He was the worst. But they pretended like Tim Walz was a very tough guy. They act like he was a man's man. But to be honest, he was quite fruity. And so, but he was trying to portray himself as a tough guy, and the voters saw right through it. You have to be authentic. If you look at our team, President Trump and J.D. Vance and our whole roster, we're very authentic, we're true to who we are, we're true to what we believe in, and I think that has a better connection with the voters.
What long... Aplausos, aplausos. Os veía tímidos. Digo, no sé si quieren aplaudir o no. What long-term trends do you see shaping the future of political communication in the US?
Well, I think you have to, not just in the US, but all over the world, for conservatives to be successful, conservatives must be the champions of the workers. And we also need to prioritize our people over people who want to invade our country. You have to respect your heritage, you have to respect your traditions. And by the way, I went to a bullfight yesterday, so I hope you keep that tradition around as long as possible. My girlfriend was a little nervous, but I loved it. And do not let the Democrats in this country, the left in this country, take your bullfighting away from you. But you have to be the champion of the working class. You have to secure your borders. You have to defend what makes your nation great, your heritages, your traditions, your religion. This is a Christian country, by the way, and it should stay that way.
What impact do you hope to have on the field of political strategy and campaign innovation, regardless of the figures you've worked with?
Well, I don't know what my impact's going to be, and right now I'm blessed. I get to travel around the world and meet so many great people, and I'm blessed that God helped us win in November, and now I have about 4 years to kind of relax in a way and develop friendships. But the impact, I want to have great relationships with conservative leaders, not just in America, but all throughout the globe, because we're fighting against a system that doesn't just stop at America's shore, right? The same system, the wokeness, the mass immigration, the anti-God, that's seeping into every country with Western values. And we got to stand together and push back and say enough's enough, and that's okay to have pride in your countries.
In terms of political and communication strategy, just in these terms, as it's your expertise, do you think Trump is building a good path or positive path from here to midterm elections in 2026?
I believe we're stronger than we probably were at this point in 2018 or 2017 when he first went, because we learned a lot of the lessons. I think that our Congress needs to do a little bit of a better job, but they're trying. It's a difficult process. And there's good people in Congress, by the way. So I think we're going to be very strong. And the Democrats, by the way, they're totally insane. And so, by default, we're just going to win because nobody wants to rally behind these people. These people are literally trying to attack our immigration control officers for doing their jobs and deporting criminal illegals from our country. And the Democrats are attacking them, trying to stop them jobs. The Democrats are wanting to bring boys to compete against girls and have showers with girls' locker rooms. These people are totally nuts. They have no leadership. And just because of that, we're going to do very well in the midterms.
So, do you think Trump's communication could be good to be the glue to stick together the Republican Party?
President Trump is absolutely the glue. President Trump has inspired tens of millions of Americans to get involved in the political process when they traditionally wouldn't have. We won this election because we turned out something called low propensity voters. These are voters who typically do not turn out to vote. And so it's imperative if Republicans want to be successful into the future, they have to continue to support the president's agenda, support his message, and again, be the champion of the three issues that I discussed earlier. And if we're smart, that's what they do. And I look at our bench. We have a great bench. Our Vice President, J.D. Vance, he's brilliant. He came to Europe and he said, stop censoring conservatives. And so we have to continue to promote our great talent on our bench and push forward President Trump's agenda.
Do you believe political strategists should be held to standards of transparency similar to those applied to public officials and media institutions?
Yes, I totally agree. You know, I'm very scrutinized. I get investigated, I get subpoenas, and they find out that I've done nothing wrong. They find out that I'm a nice guy who just plays video games on the weekends, you know? But I'm under scrutiny all the time. But the Democrats, when we put the Democrats consultants under scrutiny, they cry. They go, oh, I'm just a private citizen. If you're in the political sphere, I think you're fair game. So I take attacks, so I attack them too.
As we see, adelante, adelante. As we see, digital messages are powerful, and maybe that's why Donald Trump every day posts through social. I don't know if that's there's consensus between you and him when he posts something, or if it's spontaneous. I would like to know it because it's really curious.
No, the president controls his own account. And he posts what's on his mind when he wants to post it. And again, he's very intentional about it. He's very intentional about what characters he uses, how many exclamation points, what capital letters. And so there's no consensus. He just does what he wants, and that's the way it is.
And sometimes you said, oh my God, what did you say or what did you post?
No, I'm always out there in the streets defending him. That's my guy. So what he says, I'm out taking the hits for him.
Okay. You give him advice and he can follow you or not?
Pardon?
You give
sometimes,
him advice?
Sometimes, but he's, I mean, believe it or not, he's a smart guy. You know, he built billions of dollars of businesses, and I'm a 28-year-old with no college degree, and I'm lucky enough to get to hang out with the guy. So I give advice when he asks for it, and then I defend him when he doesn't.
Adelante. How do you respond to concerns that digital political strategy can contribute to polarization or misinformation, even if unintentionally?
I think social media is actually the great equalizer. I think it actually helps prevent misinformation. I think who controls the misinformation is the state-run media, by the way, the TV networks that are controlled by the government, the newspapers that are in bed with the politician. Social media gave rise to independent voices like myself, like a lot of the people that you're hearing from today, and it's the great equalizer. We're able to push back, and so it used to be whatever the media said was the truth. And now, wait a second, we can fact-check the media in real time, and they're unhappy about it, so they say, social media does misinformation, but it's really them that does it. We just fact-check them, and they don't like it.
Time's off. Alex, thank you again for taking the time to share your insights. It's been a thoughtful and eye-opening conversation, so I appreciate
Hopefully I can come back. Can I come back next year?
Así que
Thank you.
Le agradecemos su presencia. Alex Bruesewitz, asesor de Donald Trump.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.